Hello everyone, welcome to a new edition of Simetrik Connect. We will guide you through the tour of version 2.6, our December 2025 release. This release brings with it major improvements designed to strengthen security, flexibility, and efficiency, reinforce control and traceability in all operations, reduce manual effort and accelerate technical processes, increase flexibility for teams and clients, boost scalability through reusable solutions. The news we will see today focus on three areas: integrations, operations, and finance and accounting. Let's start with integrations. On this occasion, we will talk about two initiatives: parser agent and custom file name. One of the big changes in the integrations area is the parser agent. This functionality allows users to provide detailed instructions so the parser can extract and structure data from files in a more precise way. Why did we do it? Users needed to extract and structure data from files in a very specific way, but existing tools lacked the flexibility to adapt to the unique requirements of each context. Goal: improve accuracy and efficiency by adapting results to the user's detailed instructions. What to do? Allow users to give clear and specific instructions via a chat interface. Show a preview of the result and ask for confirmation before applying changes. Save parsers with names and context for future reuse. Enable iterative interactions so users refine the parser over time. What not to do? Do not allow users to edit existing or default parsers. Do not allow reopening of previous conversations. Do not save results automatically. How does it work? From the tool in the Data Buckets menu, for both new and existing data buckets, it will be possible from the Data Bucket Output Configuration section to assign file parsing as the processing type. In this menu, you will find both the catalog that we already had available, as well as the option so you can upload a file susceptible to analysis and, from a series of additional instructions given as context, be able to generate a recommendation much more in line with the user's needs. In this case, once the instructions are given and the file is uploaded, it is sent for analysis, and the agent will start performing a recognition of both the structure of the uploaded file and the additional context provided to generate the recommendation. At all times, it is visible what part of the process the agent is performing. And once we have a first suggestion, the chat opens so that additional context can be provided. In this case, once the suggestion is finished, it shows us that it detected a new structure that meets this preview. If we are sure this is what we need at the parsing level, we can finalize the experience, either from this tab or from the chat we saw earlier. You can name your new parser, which will be added to the catalog. Once this is done and we accept the suggestion, you will see the parser become part of the original catalog. It is a suggestion created with AI, and we will always have availability of a preview of that initial recommendation that we accepted. To finish the process, we simply finish the implementation at the output configuration level in the data bucket, which is basically creating a new existing data bucket which will receive all the files that are parsed. And this done, the data bucket is now ready so that every time files are uploaded to it, it takes that parser that was generated and processes the information based on that. We continue in integrations with the custom file name. This feature gives users total control over how exported files are named through a configurable function that includes dynamic tags, free text, separators, and flexible timestamps. Why did we do it? Our clients could not customize the name of exported files, which caused friction in their automated workflows, risk of failures, and limited their autonomy to integrate exports into their internal processes. Goal: significant time optimization. It seeks to replace the current rigid structure with one that adapts to operational needs. What to do? Ensure that the execution ID is included in all file names to ensure traceability of each exported file. Require at least one additional element, tag or free text, in addition to the execution ID to save the configuration. Allow the user to order all elements, including the execution ID. Validate the free text field to avoid the use of invalid characters. Enabled for the editing and creation flow through API and front end. What not to do? The execution ID tag must always be present. Request additional dynamic tags via support beyond those provided or created as text strings. Apply this naming logic to any other part of the platform. Massive migrations or changes to existing exports are not included in these cases. The current use of the parameter is maintained until the user updates their configurations one by one. How does it work? Within the export flow we already know, which basically consists of giving a name to the export, assigning or selecting one of the available resource types to export, taking as a base some of the already existing resources, and assigning the export modality according to needs. Within step 2, we will have the usual column selection, and it is where we start to visualize the changes or improvements at the level of this functionality. We maintain everything that has to do with the selection of maximum size per file, the formats we already know, CSV, Parquet, and additionally selecting which is the destination path where we want the system to leave the information every time it is generated. Finally, we will start to evidence this new section where we will allow the user precisely to configure the name they want their export to have by default. We will maintain the usual naming scheme, a concatenation of parameters such as event, resource, and date, but now with the flexibility of adding customized tags. In this case, the user will be able to use this box to be able to drag the tags that the system will provide, where we maintain the minimums that we already knew in the usual name. The workspace ID, the export prefix, the resource type, the resource ID, the timestamp that allows us to identify on what date and at what time the file was generated, the event name. But additionally, we incorporate the resource name tag, we incorporate the action ID tag, and we allow the user to set values to their liking to be part of one more tag at the moment of exporting. This tag is free text. The user will be able to order it at the name level as they wish, and the only mandatory parameter that we will have for file traceability will be the execution ID. In the same way, they will always have a preview of how the output file name will be looking, and we inherit the format or the extension in which the file will be generated. When the timestamp tag is used at the configuration level, it is possible to choose what will be the separator that the file names will have and the date format, date, and time that best suits the user's needs. Finally, in step 3, let's remember that it is a verification step, where we see a summary of everything configured at the export level, the name preview that was configured previously. We confirm the save and the export. Every time it is executed, it will start naming the files the way it was configured. We continue with the operations and finance news. Another key novelty in the operations and finance vertical is access by entity. This improvement allows each user to see and access only the entities strictly necessary and authorized for their role, providing granular visibility control. Why did we do it? We seek to solve the problem of information overload and exposure of sensitive data. It is crucial to ensure that information is only visible to authorized personnel, achieve an improvement in security and a significant reduction of errors due to manipulation of sensitive data. This creates a more controlled work environment. What to do? Change a resource from public to private to control who can see it. Grant access to a private resource with a specific entity role, for example, viewer only, regardless of the user's main role in the company. Request access when a private entity is found that cannot be opened. Review and process pending access requests if required permissions are held. View all dependencies of an entity in the relationship map, even if some are private. Grant mass access to a maximum of 50 entities. What not to do? Access a private resource only when explicitly included in its access list. Assign specific access to resources without modifying the main role or permissions elsewhere. Avoid removing one's own access or changing one's own role within a resource. Use the Configure Access option only on confirmed entities, not on drafts or folders. Assign access massively, only up to a maximum of 50 resources. Assign access only to resources that can be seen. Avoid assigning access to resources for which only viewing permission is held. Use only resources to which one has access as inputs when configuring others. How does it work? In the Resources section is the new property, which is the ability to privatize resources so that only people who have a private one-on-one invitation have access to certain resources. By default, all resources are created public so that all users have access from the moment the resource is created. As we know, here in the Account Administration section, you can locate the roles. For users with the supervisor role, there is a specific permission. In the Workspaces section, you will see the permission called Configure Entity Accesses. If, for example, you duplicate the supervisor role directly, the permission is found in the same place and can be enabled or disabled to have the possibility of privatizing resources if you do it in a custom role. Returning to resources, if I am a supervisor or if I have a role that has the permission, I will be able to modify accesses in the Edit Access option. If we configure private, it will always add by default the user who is generating it, and permission can be granted to another user. Permission can be given with the role they have within the workspace or only viewing permission. If left only as a viewer, they will only be able to see the resource and will not be able to change public or private access. The system restricts editing to the user who initiates the action. One cannot edit the role to oneself in that resource, nor remove accesses. When the resource is edited, the icon changes to locked, indicating that the resource is private. When viewer permissions are assigned in the resource, they are assigning the viewing role in the resource. Mass access edits can also be generated for up to 50 resources. We select the option, and resources that are drafts are blocked from the selection because that can only be done for processed resources. Once selected, access can be edited to return all resources to public or private. If a reconciliation is to be created, for example, a resource cannot be used if, as a user, I do not have access. This functionality is also available for consolidations, dashboards, and for combinations. A folder cannot be privatized. The folder must be accessed to select the resource. We close with the accounting news, where you will know the configuration and management tools that arrive with this version 2.6. In the accounting section, we have two functionalities: the customization of ERP structures and new journal entry manager. Regarding the customization of ERP structures, this feature allows accounting administrators to define and validate the JSON format directly in the tool, adapting the journal entries to the structure expected by the ERP. Why did we do it? Previously, any change in the JSON format of the entries depended on the engineering or services team, which generated bottlenecks and slowed down iterations. Goal: significantly reduce implementation time and alignment overhead between teams, giving ERP administrators full autonomy to create and maintain their JSON formats, restoring self-service and independence from engineering or Simetrik tickets. What to do? Create payloads from a sample JSON or directly from the user interface. Modify the structure of a payload. Add, delete, and rename fields, change data types, define formats, and create nested structures. Associate a single payload with multiple accounting models. What not to do? Introduce an invalid JSON, publish entries in the ERP without validating the structure or without assigning a payload that matches the expected format of the ERP, the migration of use cases that are already in production. Let's see how it works. Before, each accounting model in Simetrik depended on the configuration of a data structure that sent the information to the ERP. The configuration of that structure, once the accounting models were assigned, did not allow editing. What did this mean? That if the format changed, one had to reconfigure and even re-implement the automation of the accounting models, which made the accounting automation a bit inflexible regarding the addition or changes of that data sending structure. Now, with custom ERP structures, the journal entry sending format is defined only once, is independent of the model, reusable in multiple models, and can be adjusted without modifying the accounting automation logic. How is it generated? The user assigns and customizes the names of their structures, also choosing the ERP. The user brings their ERP example structure, and the functionality immediately defines that output configuration for a scheme that speaks directly from Simetrik to the user's ERP. This, in turn, allows customizing the reversal format, making the process much simpler and clearer for users who manage the ERP. Once that custom connection is configured, the user will be able to manage their models, that is, assign accounting models as many times as needed, depending on the model type. And in the same way, unassign them as many times as needed. Speaking of flexibility, as we mentioned, it also allows editing that structure as many times as relevant, saving those changes, and automatically their associated accounting models will be updated without depending on a structure or a re-implementation. With this, we will have more control and less friction in the face of changes in the payload so that accounting teams gain total autonomy over their integrations. The last big project of this version is the new Journal Entry Manager. This is a centralized view that replaces the old entry manager and allows managing the complete lifecycle of the journal entries of all models from a single table. Why did we do it? Accounting users lacked a unified place to review and manage journal entries. They had to navigate model by model, inspect errors manually, and reconstruct traceability. This resulted in slow error resolution, dependence on technical teams, and bottlenecks in the month close. Achieve faster error resolution and greater scalability for high-volume operations. What to do? Provide a single source of truth for all journal entries in all environments. Always show the error clearly in the table, including AI interpretation when applicable. Maintain advanced filters and intuitive chips. Ensure complete traceability without the need to open the model. Use standardized AI categories and static messages for ERP error interpretation. What not to do? Do not force users to open each entry or the JSON to understand an error. Do not expose raw technical information as the only option, only when necessary. For example, ERP rejection. Do not treat this function as a task manager. It does not assign tasks, track progress, or manage workflows. How it functionality? Before, the Journal Entry Manager showed scattered information, difficult to filter, with filters that users needed on important columns but that we didn't have, and which even meant that when errors occurred in sending the journal entry to the ERP, the client had to manually enter to consult the request and search within a long JSON for the response and the reason why it hadn't been successfully posted in the ERP to be able to take actions and correct. Now with the new Journal Entry Manager, we offer a completely different view where there is centralized information for each model status, where in addition to this, we offer advanced filters. Additionally, we allow mass actions in which the user has clarity on the information and the models they are managing. We also have a powerful function where the user can also customize the view of the information they really need to monitor. Finally, very important is that now the user will be able to interpret with AI the reason why their journal entry failed in the ERP submission so that they can faster have an analysis and generate the actions they need to accelerate their monthly closing processes. With this, we conclude our space. We remind you that all features will have immediate activation. Thank you for your time.